Now, I first met AC and Christy through the preschool program when I was 3 years old. I started off at Devizes Christian School, which God had called my mum to set up. I was 6 when the school folded, and my parents made the decision to homeschool me, and subsequently, my 3 younger siblings. When I was 11, my dad was offered a job in Shanghai, China. Since it is a communist country, we automatically assume that we'd be fairly isolated and have to homeschool undercover, and so on. To our surprise, however, when we arrived, we discovered that not only did the Chinese authorities turn a blind eye towards the subversive homeschooling activities of the dangerous foreigners, but also that there was a vibrant international Christian community over there. I was so blessed to become a part of a strong group of kids my own age, many of whom were also being homeschooled using Christian curricula, who had a really strong relationship with God and were really thirsting after Him and digging into His Word, both individually and as a group. I'd never experienced an iron sharpens iron relationship like that before. When I was 15, God called my family to leave Shanghai, which was incredibly challenging for all of us, partly because of the economic situation that we would be returning to, but mainly because of the infrastructure of believers that we were leaving behind. When we arrived back here in England a year ago, I sought to catch up with some of the girls that I'd been friends with when we were younger. Now, when you see someone changing over a period of time, often you don't notice it. But when you haven't seen them for 4 or 5 years, changes in them can stick out like a sore thumb. But I'd also like to suggest that I noticed these changes because of something inculcated in me by my parents through ACE: sensitivity to sin. One of these girls is now fighting a battle with anorexia and has huge issues with self-esteem. Another seems to be emotionally dependent on her boyfriend. Now, that's not to say that I'm without problems. Oh no, you can ask my parents afterwards for details about that. But it really made me thankful that my parents were able to shelter me from many of these problems and give me a strong foundation in God's Word. And I think that would have been much harder for them had ACE not been available. I'd also like to say that although ACE has nurtured me spiritually, it has also stretched me academically. When I see the way that my friends learn in state school, I'm glad that I don't have to wait for a teacher to quieten down a whole classroom full of students before I can begin learning. With ACE, I can begin learning as soon as I open my pace. Hey. My aspirations for the future are to achieve a joint honours degree in Chinese and English and to become a primary school teacher, sharing the love of learning I've been given with others. During my gap year, I'd like to go back to Shanghai to assist in an ACE school that was set up there this September. I'd like to close with Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct and straighten your paths. These verses have been true in my life, and I venture to suggest that they are where the future of Christian education lies. Because unless the Lord builds a house, the workers labor in vain. Amen.